John, one of our favorite guys to deal with, whether the borough is Bronx or the Queens, is Luis Severino, and he joins us on the show this week.
Yeah, Sevi is the best. Whether it's going well, poorly, whatever, he'll tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's the most honest guy I can think. I mean, nobody's going to reveal everything going on in their lives, but he's the best, I think, to deal with in terms of getting the true, honest answer exactly what he's thinking at that moment. So, really looking forward to this one.
For all the vanilla we get, all the sanitized stuff, it's always good to talk to Luis Severino, and we'll enjoy doing it today. John, you and I will talk about the Mets and Yankees not capitalizing on soft spots in their schedule over the weekend in particular, and we'll play hit and error at the end if you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John, our New York teams didn't do great over the weekend. The Mets didn't do great on a homestand where they had a lot of soft touches. You wrote a really strong column on it in the Post about kind of squandering what was a soft touch in their schedule, a 6-6 period against some of the worst teams in the sport, including the Marlins over the weekend. It leaves them 2 out in the wild card. And I just have this general thought, John, which is, you end up playing the season that is not the one you imagine. So like the Mets talked a good game, right? About like, we want to make the playoffs, but they were playing that macro game. They didn't want to do anything. But how many seasons are you going to have where the Braves lose probably their best hitter and their best starter? There's this jam up there where you hit free agency in a pretty strong way with good players like our guest today, Luis Severino and Minaya and Harrison Bader. And, the rest of the sport isn't that good. Like a 6 seed went to the World Series the last few years. If you could get in, you could make a case for doing something. Are they blowing it right here?
I mean, I think if they don't get in, I think it's a disaster at this point because the teams behind them are just they're not that good. They're 500 type teams, right? The Giants, the Cardinals, not terrible, but they're not playoff teams. The one team they need to beat, again, is the Braves. And the Braves have had so much bad luck this year, not just their best hitter and their best pitcher. Albie's out now. I think Riley's got an issue, but I mean, Riley and Olsen are not having anywhere near the years that you expect them to have. And beyond all of their injuries, they've had some abject underperformance. It's, to me, shocking how the Mets have blown the last, basically since August started, right? I mean, they're 7-9 in August. They're 6-6 against, not counting the White Sox, the 4 worst teams in baseball, at least by record. You can't go 6-6 when you're trying to win and get in the playoffs. And these other teams are not very good, and they've been diminished, presumably at the trade deadline. I mean, this will be a real, beyond a shame. I think it's a disaster if they don't get in the playoffs.
Yeah, John, I agree with you because I might not have felt that way in March or April or May,
Right.
but once you see the season we're actually playing, where this is the version of the Braves, where there is no great team in the whole sport, certainly not in the National League. And to your point, a well-made point, they're losing to teams that not only were bad all year, but then they sell because they were bad. And now you used a term I really loved in your column, like the fire sold Marlins, that are a diminished team and they're not, capitalizing on it. I do think they need to find a way into the playoffs, and maybe we'll wonder, John, do you wonder at all? They kind of like try to fix it the margins a little bit instead of making a killer move. Now, maybe there weren't killer moves to make it this trade deadline, but
Yeah.
they kept playing the long game when the short game for a team that's made the playoffs 10 times in their history in 60 plus years, it was sitting there for them. Should they have been more ambitious?
Well, I mean, it was a tough market for a buyer, and I thought they did pretty well considering. They got relief pitchers, which is what they needed. Now, some of them haven't been so great. They got Blackburn, who's actually been good 3 out of 4 starts, right? I mean, he should be winning these games. I mean, to lose that game yesterday, what a shame that was. What a complete waste. That Marlins lineup, the last 4 guys had a 500 something OPS. I mean, the Mets had a good lineup, yet McNeil wasn't starting. JD Martinez wasn't starting. Alvarez wasn't starting. I mean, they had a bench that was better than the Marlins starting lineup. There was no excuse to lose that game. The Marlins were starting a guy who had been in Houston, came through Mexico, is basically a fly ball pitcher, and his numbers look okay through I think 3 starts or something like that. But this is a guy they should be killing. Look at that Mets lineup. They got good hitters 1 through 9. I don't know what's going on with Alvarez lately, but he should be a good hitter, right? But basically 1 through 9, they have good hitters. McNeil's now hitting well generally, but I mean I don't know. I feel a little bad for Lindor. I keep saying he's an MVP candidate, but I mean you don't get in the playoffs, you're not an MVP candidate. That's just the reality of it. It's pretty amazing though that he now leads Otani in the F war. Maybe we don't give enough love to him, but I mean these other guys. Alonso's been okay, but not a lot like we expected, right? Nimmo has been just started getting good. Now we'll see. Hopefully his MRI turns out okay, but got hurt yesterday. I think Lindor needs some help, and they got to be better than this. I mean, they're barely over 500 after this incredibly soft spot in their schedule.
There's a analogy for me. Alvarez and Volpe came up to the majors as top 10
Right.
prospects. They both defended better than they hit in year one, but showed enough offensively where you thought year two would be much better for both guys. And it hasn't really been for Volpe, who kind of is a roller coaster player. There's no middle ground with him. He never hits just 250 for a week. He either hits 100 or 350. And I've been shocked on Alvarez. I just thought the bat would play at a high level and he'd end up being the Alonso protector. We were like, is it going to be JD Martinez? Does McNeil ever get his act together? I thought it would be Alvarez. And I just think the player in my mind is a difference maker between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. And if he doesn't turn on, I'm not sure that they could even beat the beleaguered version of the Braves.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with his hitting. They say they're not worried, but I mean, I'm not a hitting coach, but he's not even striding into the pitches anymore. It looks like he's trying to just make contact. He is showing no power, basically. Wells has been much better. Now, Wells was a decent prospect as a hitter, and he's been much better than Alvarez, and he has been the protection for Judge. Give him credit, so give the Yankees credit on that one. But yeah, Volpe's hot and cold. He's 3 for 40 something at this point. He certainly has not taken a step forward offensively, even though his batting average overall is a little bit better, because you're right, because he hits 300 sometimes for a stretch and then 100. But yeah, both guys have been very disappointing offensively lately, and it's been a big factor, I think, in the fact that certainly the Mets are, I think, underperforming, and the Yankees haven't been great either.
I did this for Volpe because I was thinking about writing something on him, maybe, John, which was just think about this roller coaster, just batting average. Forget about the strikeout percentage, slugging,
Right.
everything else. These are the batting average. His first 16 games, 373. His next 19, 158. His next 27, 333. His next 35, 171. His next 16, 353. And as you're pointing, the last whatever is like 4 for 40. This guy doesn't have a
No.
bad week. He has bad months. I'm not
Yeah.
at peace with what's going on with these two young players in our town who were supposed to be cornerstone pieces moving forward. I get it. You have Soto and Judge. Volpe was supposed to be a good co-star to that would help them. And these slumps are such, we bantered about it a bit, John. We're kind of flipping around Mets and Yankees here. I think you got to at least convene a meeting. Do you send the guy down and see if he can kind of like John, if you were the general manager, I would say to you, hey, John, I think we need to have a meeting about this. Doesn't mean we have to do it, but I think we have to have a meeting. Can we survive for a couple of weeks with Peraza and Cabrera at shortstop and see if we could get this guy right away from the thing? Because he seems in between philosophies, in between pitches. And when he slumps, what was your number just now? Like 4 for 40 something. He doesn't, it lasts a long time. And the Yankees' biggest problem to me offensively is the lack of on-base percentage by so many guys in a lineup that has Soto and Judge, which is you don't get to them enough because you're not getting guys on base. And then you just don't have guys on base for them. These two great Garrick and Ruthian kind of players.
Right.
Anyway, John, jump in whenever you want there on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth discussing whether to send Volpe down at this point, but I doubt they do it because he is excellent defensively. There isn't going to be a discussion about Alvarez and the Mets because obviously you need a second good catcher. Torrens has been a great pickup. What was he, $1,000 or $100? I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was a good move. They got a lot of good players from the Yankees, including Severino, our guest. And it was funny when he said they only have two good hitters on the Yankees now. He's a very honest and funny guy, but I did
Yeah.
remind him that they're two great hitters. And now it's better. I mean, once Jazz comes back, Jazz was really good for his first 14 games. Wells has been good. Glaber's been better since he got yelled at, or whatever you want to say, taken to the woodshed. I don't know, some
It was
cliche,
only
but
6 years late. I mean,
it was effective. It was maybe not timely, but it was effective for Aaron Boone there. But I mean, the Yankees should have a very good offense now, but their season has gone a little bit like, as you put it with Volpe, up and down, right? They were the best team, or arguably the best team, for 2+ months. Then they were the second worst team. I mean, nobody competes with the White Sox for the worst, but second worst team for over a month. And now they've generally been pretty good, although, obviously disconcerting losses against Detroit and getting killed against the White Sox. I mean, there's no great team. So that's one thing we can say nationally. Nobody's en route to 100 wins. Everybody's got issues. If you look at the Dodgers and that rotation, I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. The Phillies were in a slump. The Orioles haven't been great. So the Guardians haven't been quite as good. So, I mean, there's been no great team. I think that's one of the good things going for the Yankees right now. Nobody is a world beater.
right. But it also goes back to the original Met point for me, John. Without a great team, figure out how to get in because you really could
They got to get
capitalize
in. I got to
like
get in.
on
Come
it.
on. I
To
mean,
you to and to the point about I believe the six best teams in the sport are all within one game of each other for the best record. I mean, six
yeah,
teams jammed there. So I feel like if both of us weren't sitting in New York right now, we'd be having long conversations about like if this was a Philadelphia thing, all the things wrong with
right.
them. To your point, the Dodgers with their rotating rotation and the Orioles, why they haven't taken off. I just think the sport, a lot of this sport, John, is about who can fix themselves best in these last 40 days. Can you get
Right.
Alvarez going? Can you get Volpe going? Look, Stroman has put together two. I thought he was much better yesterday than even the previous start, which was 5 good innings. I thought his stuff was much better yesterday. Precision, like the ability to fix yourself down the stretch here for all of these contenders to A, get in, and then B, have a larger level of competence once you're in. I mean, there's areas, the Yankee bullpen. I heard the announcer on ESPN yesterday kept going on about the Yankee bullpen, how great it is. I guess it was the first game that was watched. The bullpen hasn't been that great. I think it's their worst bullpen in 10 years. Like if you
Yeah.
start doing comparisons about how good their bullpen has
Yeah,
been.
I
So,
didn't see that, but I've seen people say that, and on national broadcasts, there was one national broadcast where somebody said the Mets bullpen has been spectacular, has been really good, and they were like sixth in ERA or something like that in the
yeah.
league, in the National League, in the bullpen. And I sent a text to somebody, and one of the other guys who was on the broadcast corrected it. It was, if you remember the Mets bullpen at the beginning with Diaz blowing all those games, it was a disaster. I don't care that they had 60 ERA, right? You got to watch the games. It's not just looking at the analytics that doesn't define it. Certainly not with the bullpen. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm with
and
you. The Yankee bullpen has been an issue, and at least they're going to get in. I mean, the Mets got to get in, right? I mean, this is the season that they're playing. You got to get in. These other teams aren't that good, and the Braves could not have had worse luck. If the Braves get in over the Mets, I mean that will be a disaster for New York.
so why don't we to wrap up the segment, John, before we bring in Luis Severino? I mentioned a point on Alvarez. Do you feel like there's a issue that has to go right or be? Tell me the thing on your mind the most about the Mets that has to kind of be better fixed. This player, this
Right.
area, for them to do
I'm,
a good 40 games now, go 28-12 and get in, or whatever it would
Yeah, I
take.
mean, I think the lineup's going to be good. I mean, I get that there's some underperformance going on from some of these quarters, but I mean, obviously Vientos has been really good and Lindor has been excellent. and I do have faith in Nimmo and Alonso, even if they're not having their best seasons. It's the bullpen. It's the bullpen. You know, they've tried to fix it. They keep bringing guys in. Obviously, Stanek hasn't been doing it. Reed Garrett, who was a revelation for the first half, has been struggling. You know, they need Nunez back doing it. If they can get that bullpen back together with Nunez and Diaz, Budo, whomever, I think they get in. But if they don't, they're not going to make it. And as I said, that'll be a disaster.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what wasn't true in spring training in the early months of the season, it's now a real demerit to everybody if this group doesn't get in, considering what they've been surrounded by and what their upend potential has been. One of the guys who has been really good for the Mets, Luis Severino, will join us next on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John and I are so pleased to be joined by Luis Severino, who's having a terrific season with the Mets, 8-6, 391 ERA, threw a shutout against the Marlins over the weekend in his last start. And Sevy, if there was a place to start, I want to start with this. You're eighth in the National League in innings pitched this year, over 142 innings. Tell us what you have found to keep yourself healthy after really 5 tough years where you couldn't stay on the mound consistently. Being on the mound has shown everyone again what a good pitcher you are.
Yeah, guys, thank you for having me. I think for me, just knowing my body more than anything else, know when to push it, when to hold back a little bit. I think sleeping is doing a great thing for me this year. I hired a sleep doctor over the off season, and told me a little things that I was doing wrong. I mean, I was just almost every night spending time watching TV until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then even like I was sleeping 7 hours, I was like feeling tired the next day. So that changed a lot. Also, the trainers here in the Mets are unbelievable. I mean, I got a special connection with Joe Golia, who have helped me a lot this year. We got a great routine since I got to spring training. So just the combination of all that, I think is keeping me healthy and more in the field.
Sleep doctor. Let me get that name from you when I get a chance afterward, because that's a good thing to have. That's really good. But I really appreciate you coming on, Luis. You are one of our favorite interviews for your great honesty and always willingness to talk. So thank you so much. I got to ask you about how you stayed in that game Saturday night. Was it Saturday? Yes. It certainly looked like Mendy was coming out to take you out, and I noticed yesterday he said that he saw the Sevy stare. Was that what did it, or did you say something to Carlos Mendoza to stay in that game?
I mean, after he told me I was going on to the nine, I hit the first batter, and then I was like, oh, there is a chance that he's gonna take me out. And Lindor told me like, you're not out yet. I let him know like you want to be in this game. And when he was walking, I was looking at him and I was like, at least give me one more batter. And if I take him out, give me another one. And we will continue like that. And he told me, if you feel good, we're going to do it. So he let me go.
Sevy, if I was going to stick with the kind of like same theme, you pitched a complete game. You've had endurance, but John and I know you from back when you were one of the most dominant pitchers in the sport, 17, 18 with the Yankees. How have you changed? You're not the complete blow the ball by everybody, fastball slider, dominant, almost Cy Young Award winner in 17, 18. How have you changed? Who are you now?
I mean, for me, like the first half of the season, I was searching for more innings than strikeouts. I was like, I need to get innings because I haven't thrown like a lot of innings in a long time. So I was leaning more into like getting sinkers in and cutters away and cutters into lefty to get more contact, more ground balls. And I still have that 98, 99 when I need it. But I feel like I can navigate with 95, 96, and then like last outing, like if I need to go that inning, that pressure inning, I will let everything go and try to get that 99, 98 by people. So for me, just knowing more about pitching than throwing, uh, learning the weakness of the hitters. I mean, I think in those years, I was young and I was like, I feel like I couldn't throw 99 from pitch one to pitch 105. So right now, I just need, like, I'm more thinking about what I can do to, maintain the same level of competition and stay healthy for a full season.
Yeah. So if I could, you mentioned a full season, you mentioned you're not the kid you once were, and we talked about up over 142 innings. How do you feel with a month of the season plus left physically to get to the finish line and through the finish line if your team gets into the postseason? How are you feeling?
Feel pretty good, feel pretty excited about this new opportunity here. Like I said, like the routine that I got now and the people that I got around me working with me with the Mets I mean, they're doing a great job for me. So, I mean, if I can continue to do that, stick to my routine every day, I think, I'm going to be good, but I feel really good.
It sounds like you're loving things with the Mets, and that's the impression that I've had. So, I mean, obviously, you're a free agent. You signed a 1-year deal. It's turned out good for you because it seems like you're loving it, and the Mets are loving you. Uh, what are your thoughts on the Mets and your free agency now coming up?
I mean, for me, like I said before, I mean, I love the Mets. I love the people that are there. I mean, I think uh, we have a great team there. We have a great communication. But at the end of the day, there is a business side that I can't control. That's something that I let my agent take care of that. But like you said, I love being with the Mets. I love the people that surround the Mets. Front office. I got a chance to talk with David Stern. He's a great guy too. So hopefully, at the end of the year, we can have this conversation and be, gonna be uh, more days with the Mets or, whatever happens, happen. The main thing is that I have to be grateful for the things that they're doing for me.
Sevi, you didn't, the first time you had free agency, it didn't go how you wanted, right? You weren't fully healthy. You didn't have a great season on the mound that last year with the Yankees. Does this feel completely different? And do you think about it like, I'm still only 30. I'm setting myself up to do something much better in the off season. How much do you think about it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think last year I put a lot of pressure on myself thinking about free agency. Like before that, I was just competing, having fun. And I think last year, my mind took that away from me, just thinking about free agency, and not about having fun and competing every time they give me the ball. So this year, I just think about, the ways that I can get better. I work in my pitches and my command. I work on my tipping and just every time they give me the ball, I'm gonna go have fun there. I'm gonna compete for my team and I gonna give me 100% every time they give me the ball. And there is things that I can't control. And, my job is to try to get hitters out after they hit the ball. I have nothing else to do. So for me, just, going out there and having fun.
I'm glad you mentioned the tipping because I mean, scouts tell me last year that you were throwing great. I mean, you were hitting 100 at times last year, and yet you were getting hit in many of these games. How big a factor was the tipping, and what did you notice about it, and what did you change?
Yes, I mean last year I was feeling good. Like, velocity was there, just secondary pitches. I was most of the times, not every time, but I was tipping in most of the times. And also the shapes of the pitches were not that good either. So I mean sometimes they can be expecting one pitch, but the pitch be so nasty that I can still miss it. But combining that with knowing what's coming and the pitch is not being great, I mean, it's too much. So for me, having people here like Carlos Beltran, Jose Rosado, who are guys who know a lot about tipping, recently in the off season, we saw some videos, and then in my side, with my agent, we talk about it. Um, and I was doing different things. I mean, with man on second, sometimes if I stop and look at third, it was fastball. If I look at second, going straight home, it was all speed. It was not 100% of the time, but in big situation, that's a hitter, that's a good thing to have. So that's one of those things that I stopped doing it. Also, my hand position with the glove, I was a little bit down, and then in one, my glove was more straight, and other ones was more like second base. So I started doing that too. I would just set a position for my pitches, and I think that also helped me a lot this year.
Sebi, did you know in real time last year when you were going through it that you were tipping? And did you know any of this? Were the Yankees able to like just help you discover what was going on?
Yes, yes. Actually, we got in the Yankees. They had two great guys there, Weber and Leclerc, guys who know a lot about tipping. They point me out a couple things, but it's really hard to do those things when you're in the season. Like it's really hard. So I was working on it, but when you go out there at the competition, like just kicks in and you forgot about everything. So it's better to do it like in the off season. You can work on some things and make it better, but it's not gonna go away. But yeah, they pull me out sometimes.
Yeah, I want to get back to Saturday's game. I mean, even though there wasn't a lot of hitting in that game, that had to be one of the most exciting games of the year. The fans were really into it. And you did hit 98 in the ninth inning, which is incredible. But I loved your reaction at the end. You were pretty excited to finish that game off. What did it mean to you to throw a complete game? I know now you're only one away from the National League lead with one complete game, so it is pretty rare.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just, I think, one of the best games this year. I mean, the fans were into it. I knew my family were watching, so I think everybody was rooting for me. And this is the big thing, and this is the thing that I love about New York. When you do things good, the fan will love you. So just uh, having that last inning, hitting the first batter, and then coming out of that game, with a big strikeout at the end, it was just amazing. So it was just not only for me, but for my family, for the fans, and also for the team.
Sebi, when the season started, people were like, well, maybe the Mets will contend, maybe they won't. And now you're really in the thick of it. Uh, and the Braves aren't nearly as good as I think we all thought they were going to be. Nobody is really standing out. What do you feel is the internal pressure on the team to capitalize on this, to make the most of it and figure out a way to get into the postseason?
I think for me, like I look at it like we don't have any pressure. Like nobody thought we were gonna be this good, and we are. So it's like keep the same mentality of like now nobody think we're gonna make it, but we still, we're gonna make it. We got the guys uh in that clubhouse, having great seasons. And if we can, we 30 something games left. If we, just think about winning series at the end of the year, we're gonna be good. Not worry about Atlanta's winning or losing today or San Diego. We just need to think about winning series. We got a big series starting today with Orioles. They're a great team, and then we go to San Diego and Arizona. So if we think about winning series, I think at the end of the year we're gonna be good.
Since you've played for both teams, I should ask you what's the biggest difference between being a Yankee and being a Met?
I think for me was uh, I think the Yankees have more pressure because they had to win the division every year. It's like the Yankees are the best team in that division, so they had to win it. So they had to prepare. There is no excuse. You just have to go out there and get it, And this division, there's a lot of good teams. They got the Phillies are really good. Atlanta is really good. So I think this is a battle. It's like at the end of the year, like with the new how the new rules are, like getting in the playoffs, you don't even need to win the division. If you get to a wild card after that, I think the last couple World Series, everybody who has been, in the top has been the team that been in the wild card. So for me, that's the only difference between these two teams.
Luis, you mentioned the two teams. It's the two teams you played for, and you've always seemed to keep a place in your heart a little bit for the Yankees. John mentioned before you're going to be a free agent. Would you be open-minded about any of the 30 teams, including going back there if they wanted you to go back there, if they came to you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the Yankees, like you say, they done a lot of great things for me. They made me the man that I am right now. They helped me. I got a good relation with Brian Cashman. I think he was great to me. We got a great communication. Actually, when we went to spring training to play the Yankees, actually I was parking. He was getting in, and he wished me luck. I mean, and when I left the Yankees out with the Mets, we talked by text, and he was great. He was really great to me. So, I mean, I'll be open to hear about, everybody.
Speaking of the Yankees, and one of the things we love about you is that you have a good sense of humor. And when you're trash talking, I know most of your headlines are about the great season you're having, but we made a lot out of the fact that you kind of barbed at them and said they only have two good hitters. At that moment, it felt that way probably, but how has that been for you? I mean, did they come back at you? And did you mind? You seem like you roll with the punches on everything. Uh, you seem like you got through it fine without any hits at all. How was all that controversy over telling the Yankees they only had two good hitters?
Yeah, I think it was a bad timing because we were going there like 2 days after that. Uh, yeah, but I think the hitters, the players, they really know what I meant, and they were not mad at me. I mean, some fans are. There was a lot of, tweets and Instagram posts about me being, don't say that about the Yankees, but they know what I meant. And I mean, I got a great relationship with Josh, with Glaber, and all those guys there. But you know what it is, like, when you actually, I was talking with Clark Schmidt when I said that to him. But it was just, sort of things that we say to each other, he asked me, hey, are you ducking us or what's going on? But I mean, for me, it was just something fun to say. Really, they don't know I really meant it like that. But I think it was really smooth. It was not that bad.
Luis, you mentioned you're good friends with Gleyber Torres. You obviously kind of like played together for a long time. I'm wondering if he's experiencing the same thing you did, which was he's in his walk year. He loves being a Yankee, and it feels from the outside like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to show them that he's a guy they should stick with long term. Do you think that's happening to your friend as you're watching from across town?
I mean, it could be, like I said, like it's a young guy, so it's hard to, compete in New York and have the pressure in New York, and also getting the pressure of being a free agent. I think he's doing better now. He's starting to hit better, so hopefully he can just turn around and forget about the numbers from now on and just worry about, how to get a base hit from now on every day, help my team win, do anything that I can to put this thing in a good spot to win. But it could happen to a lot of guys. That it's not easy to compete in New York. So that's why the Mets and Yankees, when they had a guy who has success in New York, they stay with that guy. So I think hopefully he can turn around.
Luis, you mentioned that there isn't as much pressure playing for the Mets, but before you came on, Joel and I had a discussion about the two teams, and we both kind of agreed that the Mets should get in now. I mean, at the beginning of the year, maybe you weren't seen as a contender, but the way things have shaped up with the Braves having all these injuries, and obviously there's probably some regret, but you can tell us how you feel about the last 16 games or so where you didn't have the toughest part of your schedule and the team went 7-9. So how does the team feeling right now? I understand maybe the pressure may not be as great in the Bronx, but I mean, we think you guys should get in, because on paper right now your team looks pretty good. You look like a wild card team to us. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think the same. I think we had the chance to be in the playoffs. I mean, like you said before, we had a tough schedule going to Anaheim, St. Louis, one game, Colorado, and then Seattle. Seattle. But I mean, that's what we signed for. This is our schedule, and we knew it since the beginning of the season. So we just not need to, not put excuses up there. Just play better, be better. I had to be better. There is some games that, like, through like a lot of bad pitches, one bad pitch, like we lose the game. So if we want to be in the playoffs, we want to be a contender in the playoffs, we need to get better. We need to play better. And that's how we win games. Just think about one game at a time. Like, we got a game tonight, we have to win that game, and not worry about the road trip that series about against San Diego.
Sevi, as a way to wrap up, I don't think there's probably anyone who's more qualified to talk about your manager, Carlos Mendoza, than you. I believe you were together in the minors with the Yankees. I believe you were together in the major. I know you were together in the majors with the Yankees, and now you're there, his first year managing the team. How do you think Carlos Mendoza is handling the step to the big job?
I mean, what I think is, like, hopefully he's at least in the top to be manager of the year. I mean, he's doing great, and having the start that we did, and he's keeping his mindset, talking to everybody. His communication is unbelievable. I mean, not only, in game, but, like when everything is done, when the game is over, he goes to you, how you feel. He goes to everybody and talk about how he's feeling. It's just great. I mean, he's unbelievable. And I can't believe this is his first year. It seems like he's been doing this for a long time.
Sevi, John mentioned it at the top, how much for both New York teams, all reporters appreciate how accessible and honest you are. And now we could add one other thing. We appreciate you that you joined us on our podcast, the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. Sevi, thanks so much. Stay healthy and have a great end of the year.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
We, of course, thank Luis Severino for joining us. Sevi is always just great to deal with, and he was again today. John, hit or error?
I'm going to do a weird hit. I'm going to give the Reds a hit for claiming Ahmed Rosario. They are still trying. I sent a text to somebody with the Reds. I said, "What's up with this?" And that was what he said to me. Yes, we are still trying. So I give them an A for effort. I got a tweet. I know I'm not supposed to look at my tweets, but somebody tweeted to me something pretty good when I tweeted that the Reds had won the claim for Ahmed Rosario. And they said, well, at least they won something this weekend. Yes, they were outscored 28-3 by the Royals. They're barely out of last place. They're 6 games out of a jammed wild card. We're not even considering them when we discuss the wild card, but they are still trying, and you give them credit for that. They do have a plus 31 run differential, so I can see why they think they're a little better than their record, but, nobody else thinks they're a contender, but they do. They get a hit from me.
I'm going to do a hit also, John. I'm going to point out Terry Francona. I think I have this right. 7th most wins ever by a manager. I'm sorry, 13th. Dusty Baker was 7th. Bob Melvin was 23rd. Craig Counsell got the largest managerial contract in history because everyone thought they were good. The 4 guys who replaced them, I think, are going to finish 1, 2, and manager of the year in each of the leagues. I think Stephen Vogt is going to win in the AL. He
Right,
replaced
right.
Francona. I think Joe Espada for turning around a team that was 12
Yes.
under in May, replaced Dusty Baker, kept the team together. I think he's going to finish 2 in the National League. I think Pat Murphy's going to finish 1
Yep.
after replacing Council, and I think Schilt is going to finish 2 after replacing Melvin. I mean, it is an interesting thing. 3 guys in the top 23 in wins, and maybe the most acknowledged guy as a manager in the sport, and Craig Counsell, and their replacements are going to be the top 4 vote getters, 2 and 2, I think, in each league. That leads me to a question for Jon Heyman on the way out here. Do we overrate managers? Like, I mean, if you could replace these guys and do better or no worse.
No, we rate them poorly. That's the problem. People are not good at hiring. It's whether it be manager or any
Well,
other
these are
job.
4 great hires then.
Right, but right, they should have been hired a long time ago. Pat Murphy is 65 years old. He's been hanging around the game forever. Why didn't somebody hire him? San Diego, how many managers have they had? And AJ Preller's doing a great job this year with all the pickups that they've made. They've made that team. That team may be the best team in baseball, right? Other than the fact they can't beat the Rockies, they're an incredible team. And how many managers has he gone through before he landed on Mike Schilt, the guy who's doing a good job? Yeah, I just did MLB Network this morning and named the 5 best managerial jobs. I think we almost exactly got that.
Who was 5? Who did I have?
Who did we leave out? I had 5 at Quatraro in there as well.
Yeah, for Kansas City.
They won 56 games last year, and they're on pace to win 90. So they made the front office did a great job too. So I mean, some of them are there's more than 4 or 5 guys have done a good job. So we don't have to hit it exactly right, but the 2 winners we got exactly right. Right, Vote. The 20 games over in Cleveland. Milwaukee, 20 games over. Both bottom 3rd payrolls, Murphy and Vogt, have been great. They should win Manager of the Year, and those were great hires. But how many? I think we don't know how to rate people because the hiring generally stinks in baseball and elsewhere.
Yeah, everybody's always hiring their pals. We know great hires. Jake Brown, Tommy Hogan, our producers who help us get through the show each week. Thank you to them. Don't forget the New York Post YouTube page, the sports YouTube page, to give us a view. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to a podcast, rate and review. And please continue to stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman.